Hello everyone and welcome back to No Place Like Home. I'm Rachel and I'm here with Kath.
You are, Rach. And people have already met me if they've listened to one of the previous episodes, but nobody has seen you in real life, but you have been here for every single episode, Rach.
Correct. And you may recognise my voice if you've ever listened to the disclaimer at the end of each episode, although I don't think anyone actually does. So I'm here today, obviously, with a notable absence of Larissa, and she has happily allowed us to give you a bit of an update on her situation. Interestingly enough, we asked her how much she was happy to share and how much she wanted to keep to herself, and the comment that I found interesting was that I'm an open book and, you know, the difficult thing was sharing my postpartum story and my mental health struggles. This is easy. So
It's so poignant, really, though, isn't it? It's what we talk about in the everyday. But, this Larissa update is a personal journey for her in her physical health. I'm sure that there's mental challenges that come with that as well, but from a physical perspective.
Yeah. So between the last recording and this one, Larissa was diagnosed with a brain tumour. She underwent surgery 2 weeks ago as we're recording this. So she's at home resting and recuperating. She's doing incredibly well. She's feeling strong and she'll be back in no time. But we're doing this episode because for at least the next 6 weeks, Kath's going to be standing in as your permanent host.
Yes.
And
sub in. Yep.
Yes, I'll still be around. I'm producer Rach. I'll be on the other side of the camera for the most part.
Yeah.
But
Rach is generally our ghost writer in the background, subbing us all the extra information and keeping us on track. So
yeah, and you would have heard Larissa apologise to me. Rach is going to be angry because I'm going off track. Well, that's me she's speaking to. So if you haven't already listened to the Meet Kath episode, go back and listen to that and you can get a good introduction to Kath before you stick with her for the next 6 weeks while we wait for Larissa to get better. And, you know, look after herself. So
we're thinking of you, Riss.
Yes.
So looking forward to having you back on board. But in the meantime,
yes,
it's me, team.
Yeah. So, Kath, you've had a bit of feedback after your episode.
I have.
What are the common threads?
So, it's interesting when you share a story, obviously a personal story. And prior to walking into this, I did have a lot of thought around what I would share and how deep I would go. And a couple of people said to me, wow, I didn't even know that this was going on for you. And I think that is probably a theme from a lot of people that I've spoken to after they've done their podcast of sharing their own personal story. Honestly, for me, it was quite deliberate. Yes, it's a part of my journey and it's a part of why I do what I do now, but it certainly, I didn't feel like I needed to share my struggle with everybody that I met. And I'm not good at asking for help. I'm not now. I definitely wasn't then. And we've spoken about this on the podcast before, that what that looks like and why we're not good at asking for help. People have asked me how they could have helped and did I do enough? And it does come back to that in lots of people that sit around you. Like, I'm so sorry I didn't know that. Like, I feel like I've been saying this that I deliberately didn't say.
Yeah. How would they know?
Yeah. And I say deliberately, but I probably, like many people who have shared their journey with us on the podcast, it wasn't to keep people out of the situation. It was, if one person knew that I felt I was failing, I didn't know what the repercussion of that was. So it wasn't that, you know, I didn't want to say that things were tough. It was, I got to keep going because if I don't, people will obviously know that my internal failure is truth.
Yeah. And at that time, was it, I mean, given that it was COVID and we're in lockdown and you weren't allowed to go anywhere or visit anyone anyway, it would have been easy to hide that from everyone. But was that a conscious
Absolutely.
decision for you at the time to kind of put on that facade and tell everyone that you were doing great?
I think potentially there was elements of that. What I have reflected on myself in sharing my story and having feedback given to me was lots of people have said to me, if I knew, I would have done da 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 da, or I knew things weren't right, but I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. I think from my experience and from watching on for others, there is a feeling that we have that we should be digging deeper into people's lives to know, oh, they're in this situation, and we can use Larissa in this particular situation as well. You can see that somebody is going through a challenging journey, and innately you would like them to tell you how to help them. Like you want them to say, this is how I want to help you, or I'm going to help you in this way. Whereas when you're in that situation, you're not thinking, oh, I'm waiting for this person to ask me what to do. It really needs to be something that comes from,
You're probably
experience.
not in a position to really have the mental capacity to ask for those things either.
Yeah.
And I think when we did the episode on this, there was a lot of people saying that if I ask for help, then I'll owe them something. Like the help comes with strings so often, which makes it difficult. But equally on that, I found a study the other day through Dr. Edna Lagabe. She'd posted on her Instagram about it, and it was a study that was done late last year. And the results of that said that 36% of new parents who did the mental health screening in postpartum were not answering the questions honestly. So there's a real issue with us being scared for whatever reason to have those open and honest conversations about where we are and how we're feeling. And if we're not willing to have those open and honest conversations, then people just don't know.
It's so true. And even working in this field as we do on a daily, I experience that in so many ways. As again, we spoke about in our my previous episode, I intake all of the guests that arrive with us. We also marry that up with ICOPE screening, if that's not something that people at home are aware of. It has the Edinburgh scale on there, which looks at kind of the here and the now of how you're actually feeling. And then there's a second part to that we use, which is the PNRQ or the ANRQ test, which basically looks like psychosocial interactions in your external. So things that you can't really change, your previous history and the way that you're supported at home, and just people around you and how you interact with that. So things that don't change on the here and now. And I can tell you right now, I will have a chat with somebody on the phone and then marry that up with this test. And I can say a lot of times I have to actually tell people that they need to answer it as honestly as possible. And sometimes I know that they haven't, and that's okay because, that's where they're at. They're not ready to dig deeper into where their challenges lie, but it becomes bleedingly obvious for us when we experience them in the space.
Yeah.
And I think people feel judgment will be cast upon them if they answer things honestly.
100%. And it's a real place of vulnerability as well, to be that open and honest about maybe the fact that you're not doing okay. And I think we all do it in everyday life, like even for the smallest things where someone will look and go, you okay? And you go, yeah, no, I'm fine. And we're so dismissive of those questions. It's a bit of a societal shift that we need to see where it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to have those difficult conversations and seek help when you need it.
Yeah, and tapping out is one of them in this particular case. But we certainly see it a lot in the space, and we certainly, if I'm reflecting on my own experience, that tapping out or withdrawing is not necessarily anything that is to be frowned upon.
Yep.
That's okay, maybe the people around you might be noticing this is happening and they're just going to watch you from afar, or, get to know what that looks like for the people around you. So if you see someone who's not necessarily themselves, then think about the things that you might do that might help you. So drop a meal around or ask them if they're okay. I think, that's something that they might say, yes, they're absolutely fine. Or they might say, I'm in a funk.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. But
self-care is not selfish. And whether you're postpartum or you've just had brain surgery, it's okay to take a bit of a break and just look after yourself for the short term.
Yeah.
So, here we are. Kath's going to be your host for the next 6 weeks at least until we welcome Larissa back. But bear with us, and on the next episode we'll dive back into the regular programming. Thanks, Kath.
Thanks, Rach.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guest speakers. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and content here should not be taken as medical or professional advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any personal recommendations and medical care. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate based on the best available information at the time of recording, we welcome any comments, suggestions or feedback via our website contact form, homb.com.au/contact. Names and details of personal experiences may have been changed to allow for anonymity and privacy. To join the conversation, join us on social media at Homb Postpartum.